Wargaming is a company, and they're pretty good at making money, as we all know. They sell tanks in crates, they've got the battle pass, and all sorts of ways to grab money out of your pockets. Now, I don't disagree with all their tactics. While I do disagree with crates, I think the battle pass is great, the Blitz fair that comes around is great, and a lot of events where you can get tanks for extremely cheap price tags, like the Black Friday events, are really solid. However, there's one thing that has always plagued my mind with questions, and it has to deal with below average performing premium tanks and collectors that Wargaming has refused to buff. We have vehicles like the T100LT in the game right now, the IS-7, the M6Yo, which all kind of deserve nerfs. The T100LT is flat out broken. That tank does need a nerf in some sort of aspect, either its spotting range or the fact that it has ridiculous DPM and penetration plus armor and mobility. Something needs to be nerfed on that vehicle. The M6Yo, I think the 3-shot gun is fine, but the 2-shot, the ability to deal 900 damage in 1.76 seconds, yeah, I just think that's too quick. Just remove the gun or make it a 3-second injure clip and buff its DPM. I think that would be a fair change. And the other tank like the IS-7, I mean, we all know the IS-7 side armor is very untrustworthy. There's a reason why it's one of the most used comp heavy tanks, and I don't really think it should be so strong on the sides. I think that at least if you're a decent player, when you're aiming at the side of a heavy and you know where to aim, your shells should penetrate. You shouldn't be relying on RNG to either guide your shell into a red spot or a black hole. I mean, either way, you're still getting pretty unlucky. But with that aside, what we're going to be talking about in today's video is the balancing of premium tanks. Now, vehicles like the AMX-30B, the Badger, and let's say the T95E6, these tanks have been in the game for a very long time. And when they did come into the game, I think they were pretty well balanced. That goes for the E6 that came into the game 4 years ago. The AMX-30B's been in the game for a super long time. And same for the Badger. And when these tanks came into the game at those times, I think they were pretty well balanced. But as we know, power creep exists. I mean, the E50M 3 years ago was regarded as one of the strongest mediums in the game. And then it went through a phase where it was regarded as a pretty weak medium, and Wargaming buffed it again, and now it's once again a very strong medium. The Object 263, for many years, was just a decent tank. It had a great gun, but its armor wasn't amazing. Nowadays, after the 263 got its buff, it's amazing. Same for the IS-7, and the IS-4 got its big buff a long time ago. There are so many tech tree tanks that have gotten huge buffs that have made them what they are today. But when we take a look at collectors, Wargaming kind of just seems to leave them in the dust. They have vehicles like the T-22 Medium, which are pretty overpowered. And then there's vehicles like the Badger. I do believe that the Badger needs a buff on its on-movement dispersion. If you own this tank, you know what I'm talking about. Whenever you turn this vehicle, its gun is horrendously inaccurate. And you could say, well, it's got a lot of DPM, so it should have that downside. Well, the thing is that it actually doesn't have that much DPM. The Badger has 3,450 damage per minute. And the sad part is that the Object 263 is kind of better than the Badger in every way. It's much faster. It's got a lot more DPM. It's got a pretty good gun for what it is. It's got decent pen. Not as good as the Badger's gun, I would say, on penetration, but the fact that it's got more pen, more armor frontally, and as well a better top speed, just makes the 263 a 100% better version of the Badger. So what, you have 6 degrees less of gun depression. You don't need gun depression when you're YOLOing your opponents. The Badger, in my opinion, should either have like 4,000 damage per minute. Why is it that the Tortoise at tier 9 has 4,000 DPM, but the Badger, which on World of Tanks PC is supposed to have the most DPM, only has 3,450 in Blitz? I mean, even the 4005 is 3,400 DPM. It makes no sense to me why this vehicle has not been buffed. A lot, should I say. It got a slight buff of 5 kilometers per hour or whatever on top speed, but that really didn't change it. It's still the same old tank. The AMX-30B is a vehicle that, when it came into the game, I think was pretty well balanced. In fact, if you look at my original review on it, I really liked it, and I still really like this tank. But why would you drive a 30B when you could drive, let's say, a Leopard 1 or an STB? The STB has the hull-down capabilities that this tank wants, and the Leopard 1 has the same mobility as the AMX-30B, but a way better gun. The gun isn't even bad on this tank. I mean, it's .308 dispersion with only a 3-second aiming time. It's very accurate. The issue is the damage per minute. It's 28 2,800 damage per minute, which makes it the lowest single-shot DPM tank in Tier 10 for a medium. The only vehicle worse is a TVP, but that's an autoloader, so it makes sense. Why the AMX 30B doesn't have 32 or even 3,300 DPM makes no sense to me. This tank in real life is based off of the Leopard 1. You can quite easily see that on its top speed and blitz, its armor profile. It's supposed to be a slightly more armored Leopard 1. On World of Tanks PC, it has some of the highest DPM in Tier 10. So why in Blitz it has almost no DPM makes no sense to me. This vehicle, all it needs is a DPM buff. Everything else about it is great. The armor on the turret's good. It's got very good top speed. In fact, I think the best power to weight ratio right up next to the T100 LT in Tier 10. Why this tank does not have just a little bit more DPM, even the same as an STB1, makes no sense to me, as this is a tank literally designed off of the Leopard 1, all about that DPM. The E6 is a tank. It's a very simple fix. Remove the hatch. That's all you have to do. If you simply remove that hatch on the roof of the E6, this goes from a pretty mid-heavy tank to, I would say, a fantastic heavy tank. That hatch is the biggest issue because even when you are hiding your tank behind a hill, that hatch can still be showing. This tank is all about its hull-down capabilities, and then you've got this huge hongler-bongler sticking right up that as long as you can aim at, you will most of the time penetrate. Like, yeah, it's pretty troll, but I feel like a tank should not be balanced down to a hatch. Hatches are a dumb way to balance a tank, and it says, I don't actually know how to balance this tank, so we're going to stick a massive gaping weak spot on the roof instead of finding some sort of weak spot we could make on the vehicle. I really don't like that, and I do feel that a vehicle like the T95E6 does deserve a buff on its overall haul-down capabilities, or give it more DPM. It's supposed to be a Chieftain Mark 6 counterpart, but it's got 400 less damage per minute. It's got worse accuracy, worse aiming time. Why would you ever drive this tank over a Chieftain Mark 6? They have the same top speed, and the Mark 6 honestly has better hull-down capabilities because of the frontal armor. So why would you drive this? Take a look at the Object 260, another collector. This one was released not too long ago, but I can already tell you it's one of the worst performing tier 10s in the game. First of all, for a heavy, it has literally no armor. Like, yeah, you get the occasional troll bounce or somewhere, but it really doesn't bounce anything. The turret is incredibly easy to penetrate, and a lot of times when you shoot at the turret, a shell will ricochet on the lower part into your engine deck. It is really irritating. The sides are absolute trash, and it's got a really good gun, but you've got no gun depression to use that gun, only sitting at 6 degrees. Want a very simple fix? This tank could easily have 8 degrees. Give it 8 degrees gun depression. That would make the frontal armor more effective, make the turret stronger. There are so many changes Wargaming could do to this tank, and they won't. And finally, we have the WZ-111-5A. This is a tank that, as many of you know, is one of my favorite tier 10s in the game. And the 5A, it's very good on hull-down capabilities, but after Wargaming buffed the IS-7, there's just less and less reasons why you would want to drive this tank. I really like it because the gun is nice, definitely better than the IS-7 gun. Its turret is insane. But why does this tank not have, let's say, a better upper plate to deal with the other tier 10 heavies? Why does the 5A not have more damage per minute? On World of Tanks PC, this is actually a really good DPM beast. It's supposed to have around 3,000 equivalents in Blitz. Why does it not have more damage per minute? Why does it not have more gun depression? There are so many changes that Wargaming could do to these vehicles. And the real question why, I said back to the balance department, is that Wargaming as a company, they want to make money. Wouldn't it make sense to buff the collectors and the premiums that are underperforming, because then, get this, people will want to buy them. I don't understand it. There is no reason Wargaming would want to leave underpowered and underperforming collectors in their game when they could be making more money off of them. It's a win-win. If the people that own the tanks don't want to drive them, nobody's going to want to buy them. But if you buff it, the people that own the tanks are not happy that their tank they probably spent $100 on is somewhat decent, and people that don't have the tank are now willing to spend that $100 to get their hands on a new vehicle. Right now, I think the Badger's in the store or something like that. I could be wrong, but nobody's going to buy the Badger. Yeah, it's 20,000 gold. How many of you, let me know in the comments, how many of you bought the Badger this time it was sold? I doubt any of you, because you all know that this is not a tank worth getting. I mean, Wargaming's really trying to say, oh, you're saving 50%. No, you're not. There's no way in hell the Badger's worth 40,000 gold. But either way, this is my simple video. It shows that Wargaming needs to buff some of their old collectors, and I hope they do, because they really need some love, and it would make them more money, so I really don't understand why they won't. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Bye-bye.